All right, back again with another edition. This time, some, I guess, not spring cleaning, but talking about spring practice. Pro day was today of recording. Today is Wednesday the 18th of March. And Georgia playing Thursday night in the NCAA tournament against St. Louis. Georgia looking for its first win since 2002 or 2001, or 2000. I don't know, early 2000s. It's been a long time. It's been over 20 years. So, first, I guess the lead story is Georgia playing in the tournament. Got bounced by Ole Miss. Played a great second half. Played a terrible first half against Ole Miss in the tournament. Hate to see that they got bounced, but again, we talk about conference championships not meaning anything in college football. College basketball's got a problem because conference championships do not matter at all. And I couldn't even tell you who won the SEC tournament. I know because you flipped it on the other day. It was Arkansas and Vanderbilt. Couldn't tell you who won it. So that's pretty bad. But Georgia, I don't even know if they're favored or not. I know St. Louis started out; they were 24-1, and then down the stretch kind of faltered. I think they're a game, or maybe they were right at 500. So we'll see. Georgia's got his work cut out, and then even if they do make it past St. Louis, they got Michigan, who's probably the best team in basketball right now. So. We'll see what happens. I mean, I think the goal is to win a game, get in the round of 32, and then see what happens after that. I highly doubt they beat Michigan, but you never know in these, especially in the tournament. You have no idea.
So yeah, it's back-to-back years that we've been in the tournament, right?
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, for Georgia basketball that had really gone through years in the desert, back-to-back is a step in the right direction when you're talking about being in the tournament. And I agree. I think at least win this one against St. Louis or St. Louis or whoever the heck it is. I couldn't tell you the first thing about them. And it would be I think Georgia fans would say overall it's been a very successful season and the program is in good footing going forward. And I do think Mike White obviously has done a good job. But the fact that with that earlier statistic where we haven't won a game in the tournament since the early 2000s, that's ridiculous for Georgia. With as much money and as many athletes, we shouldn't. That shouldn't happen. So hopefully, basketball is going in the right direction. But I will tell you this: they didn't give old people who are not rabid fans but have an interest. They didn't give us much hope. Putting it on 9:30 on a work night, that's tough for people of my age.
Yeah, that was rough. But I would like to add a thing that I didn't know about until very recently. It came out, the rosters ranked in the SEC of how much they cost on the floor. You know where Georgia ranked?
I couldn't tell you.
You want to guess?
I would say the middle third. I don't know whatever that is, but that would be my guess.
Try the bottom third and try last. 16 overall.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So Mike White's done a pretty good job given where his the roster, the money is. But then that also comes into question of why aren't we spending more money on the basketball program?
I don't know. I know that's a rhetorical question, but I can't answer that.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me why you wouldn't. I think that I get football. You want to, we have to keep up with the Joneses, especially if we want to compete at the top. But it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me on why.
Are we one of the wealthiest athletic departments?
Yeah.
Yeah. So those two things are not congruent in my mind.
No, and it doesn't. And I mean, whatever. I mean, it's a public university. They should be spending money as much as they can, especially to win in basketball and put on.
I know people are not going to want to hear this and going to get irritated at me, but in order to be relevant and to bring in money for all the other sports team, all the female sports, all the soccer, the lower profile sports, you've got to be competitive in the big three in men's sports: football, basketball, and baseball, and everything else flows from that. So to me, those are should be priority for an athletic department to fund. Again, over my skis, but I'm just from a practical standpoint, I don't know why that's not a focus.
And we've gotten we've taken a step back in Olympic sports. I mean, Georgia's one of the best teams or universities in Olympic sports, and they've taken a step back. So, and look, I know that our swimming program was one of the best, and our tennis program was one of the best. Golf is really good, but Georgia, I'm a nationalist when it comes to this. Georgia should be good at everything. So, especially with all the athletes that are in the state. Whatever. All right. The next thing that we should, do you want to talk about Pro Day or do you want to talk about spring starting?
We'll talk about Pro Day first, I guess. Be quick.
Pro Day, a lot of Falcons representation at Pro Day. Matt Ryan was there. It's nice to see that the Falcons decided to care about the Georgia football program all of a sudden. They drafted a guy last year in the first round. Now all of a sudden, hey, these guys might be good. So that was a good sign. I think C.J. Allen and Monroe Freeling are going to be the first two guys picked. I think Monroe Freeling's going to go in the first round. A lot of eyes on him. And then, the biggest news out of the whole thing was Jake Fromm was the one throwing to the receivers today. That was.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that. Interesting.
They didn't have anybody to throw, and so they just Kirby made a call to the bullpen. He knew Fromm was somewhere around there.
So I hope he didn't start getting onto him and pressuring him. He'll start throwing it to fucking the NFL coaches. He'll regress right in front of our eyes. Bless his heart.
So I guess the big takeaway is, we'll see how many guys get drafted this year. I think that Georgia should have at least 5 guys get picked, right? Monroe Freeling, C.J. Allen, Zachariah Branch, Dalen Everett, Christian Miller. I think they were the 5 that I would put money on getting drafted. For sure.
I think there'll be more. Yeah, I don't know. I don't, as people probably picked up, I don't pay that much attention to NFL stuff. But, yeah, you got Micah Morris, NFL scouts, he'll get drafted. I think you're going to have Dylan Bell, who really impressed.
Bell, Colby Young.
Yeah, they're going to get drafted. So I think, the 5 you said, or I know you're talking about locks, but I would even feel confident. Just those off the top of my head, NFL teams are going to want those guys.
Do the Falcons take a Georgia player? And they don't have a first-round pick. I don't even know. I know they have a second. And I don't even know all the draft picks that they have.
Well, I can tell you, they're looking for a corner to play across from, who is it, Alfred? Is that the guy?
Holy shit! Welcome back, 2016.
What's the guys? The
AJ
Terrell. Okay. To play opposite of him. So Dylan Everett, does he fall to the 3rd round? So that could be an opportunity. I don't know. I don't know on the offensive line if you can get an offense, and I don't know who that would be. I don't think the Falcons are gonna take an offensive lineman in a pick. I just don't. And I know they don't have a first.
I wonder if Zachariah Branch falls to the 2nd round if they can get him.
They're looking for a receiver, a slot guy. They are indeed looking for that.
And they're also looking for a defensive tackle. I know that the Steelers will pick up one Georgia player, whether it's an undrafted free agent or a guy in the draft. So I feel pretty
They were there today too, right?
Yeah, Fatso was there. What a great hire. Anyway, let's not talk about that. That's a different podcast. So there's that. And then spring starting. Today and yesterday were underwear Olympics, and really the only noteworthy thing was Kirby saying, I don't give a shit about what helmet or uniform they wear. I'm more worried about how they play. And then pumping a thing for Glory, the NIL thing. whatever.
By the way, for those people that are listening that have, I'm not here to promote it, but it is, you got different levels. You got $20, the $75, $20 a month, $75, and the $150. At the basic level, you get 2 private tickets to watch a private practice. That's
Yeah.
kind of cool, and you get some other benefits. So, if you really care and you want to compete and want Georgia to continue to do well, I would say it's even the modest or the most basic level is about like a Netflix subscription, right? So that's essentially what you're looking at.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to pass that along.
Are you
But
subscribed?
I am as of today.
Oh, really? You saw?
I follow what Kirby says, dude. I am. You give me a path, I'm gonna follow the path. Kirby tells me to join and triple the subscriptions. Okay.
Well, now whenever Georgia plays
Kirby just says jump off the top of Stafford State. Okay, that's what we got to do.
Now I know if we look like shit against Alabama or somebody, I pay for this roster. I do put a little something in there.
Yeah, I've got ownership now, man.
Yeah, there's some skin in the game here. Yeah. I guess we'll do one probably next week, and we'll do 2 shows next week, probably talking about spring. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say before we wrap up on spring. I don't know whatever spring is a time for me is to start getting an idea on the offensive line, for example. What's going to be the rotation there? What is Rauscher going to bring? You can start maybe seeing some semblance of that, even though you're not going to run. You're also wanting to look at, I would think, since we had a lot of turnover in wide receiver room, who kind of shines in that position group as well. And clearly there's some spots on defense. So I would just say, the offensive line and the receivers on the offensive side are ones that I'm really interested in knowing how that shakes out and what it's starting to look like, what we're thinking in terms of rotation and players that might make an impact. And then defensively, I don't know. I know they're talking about Colby Young, not Colby Young, but coming in and playing middle linebacker. What's his name? The guy that can play all over the field. That got burned on the. No, not Raylan Wilson. Number 9. He used to be number 19, then he got changed to 9.
Chris Cole.
Chris Cole. So we got to have. To me, I don't know unless he's bulked up. I don't know if he's an every down middle linebacker, but that's what I understood. So I want to see how that, since we lost C.J. Allen, what the linebackers look like. So those are some of the things I'm looking for at spring.
I think our linebacker room is pretty stout. I mean, go and look at it. I don't want to get too bogged down in this, but and Bach, number 11, I can't ever pronounce his last name. Too many syllables. Sorry, bud. But I know he's supposed to be really good. Walker, he looked really good toward the end of the year. Chris Cole.
He did.
And then you have Justin Williams, who's a 5-star, one of the best linebackers in his recruiting class, one of the best players in his recruiting class, and then Raylan Wilson. So should be able to have a healthy dose of pretty good linebackers.
I hope you're right, but I'm going to be looking to see.
Also, we'll talk about it. There's a freshman offensive lineman who's going to play. He's going to be a Juan Gasson, Dontrell Glover day 1 starter. I'll put that out there. There's a tease for you.
All right.
Look up the name, but come back next week and I'll tell you. So we'll do a show next week talking about spring practice, what we're hearing, what's going on, and then we'll go from there. Anything else before we go into this?
No.
All right.
I'm ready.
So there's some housekeeping stuff. So, we did top 5 quarterbacks. We did the most important, impactful games in Kirby Smart era. We did top 5 running backs. We're just going to keep the train going on top 5s and Mount Rushmores till something happens football-wise. So the top 5 Georgia teams of the modern era. I'm sure some people already have at least 3 that are slotted, but it's about where you slotted them that's important. So that's what we're doing. Do you want to start? Let's just do 5 down or 5 up. Have a
5
little,
up.
5 up.
Okay. All
All
right.
right. You want to start, or you want me to start?
So this is modern era Vince Dooley forward.
Yep.
5 best teams. I'll
5 best
start with
teams.
my.
Okay.
I'll start with my 5th best team. I think the 2023 Georgia team, the year after we lost Stetson, but we still have Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey. I think that was probably my 5th best all-time Georgia team. Underachieved, but still talent-wise, I think one of the 5 best.
I that year was such a the ending of that season was so shitty that I can't really put it on a top 5 because it was so. I mean, honestly, I don't think they underachieved either. If it was any normal circumstance with the playoff, they would have been in. I think they probably would have won the national championship. I think they would have.
That's
definitely
what I'm saying.
They would have beaten Michigan.
Yes.
Whatever. But I just the way it ended, I can't. I hate that whole thing from the SEC championship to the Orange Bowl and then the Carson Bag drama. I've tried to shut that team out of my head.
Well, you may try to shut them out, but I take kind of what, the way I thought about this is what team coulda, shoulda, woulda won the national championship if something small but significant would have changed. That team was talented enough to win a national championship and probably should have. And like you said, if we were under the scenario as we are, we'll never know. But if we're playing the 12-team playoff, that team would have been really dangerous.
Yeah.
So that's the reason I picked them.
All right. Well, my number 5 is a 2012 team. Talking about woulda, shoulda, coulda. I think that team, if you go back and look at the NFL players, running backs stocked up in the running back room, quarterback, obviously, wide receiver, offensive line, defense. Jarvis Jones, I think, was one of the better. That was the best Mark Richt team at the end of his time there. From, I would say, post Stafford, that was the best team that they had.
Okay.
Should have won a national championship. But again, woulda, shoulda, coulda against Alabama. That was the national championship to me. And I think
I think it was to everybody. That's where they just crushed Notre Dame, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that? Yeah.
I think a lot of people would say that was a national championship that year. That was I gotta be honest with you. I don't have any Mark Richt era teams on the rest of my list. I think that was one of the better teams in the Mark Richt era.
All right.
To show for.
I don't disagree. I didn't have that one in there, but I can't argue with your points. The other team that under the mark that was my number 4 team, I think the team in 2007, again, if we would be in the 12-team playoff, the way they were rolling at the end of the year, last third of the year, the talent level with Stafford and all those guys, the defense was starting to come alive. And Hawaii was not even that was like playing, the analogy is TCU. That was a mismatch. Never should have happened. Georgia was good enough, I think. Now USC was, that was in their era of dominance, right?
Yeah, LSU won the national championship that year.
One
of his first teams.
I just felt like the 2007 team at the end of the year could have won that. They had some momentum and were on a roll, and so that's the reason I put them in there.
So that was my debate at 5, whether I put the 07 or the 12 team. To me, I think the 12 team gets the nod because they were, I think, the better team. They lost a game against South Carolina that they shouldn't have lost on the road, and then obviously Bama, that they had every opportunity to win that game. Clearly, what?
The biggest difference, you just said something, the biggest difference between the Mark Richt era and the Kirby Smart era is, by and large, you could always bet on it. Every year, Georgia would lose at least one game that we slept walk through, weren't ready for, whatever, under Mark Richt. Maybe two that we shouldn't have lost to. In Kirby Smart era, the teams that we should beat, we typically beat, and the ones where we're not big marquee games where it's point spread, not that much difference. I don't know. It's just a different feel. They have much more of a killer instinct, and I think that's the difference. People were, before Kirby won the first national championship, calling him Mark Richt 2.0. I think that's the distinctive difference between. I didn't either, but that's the distinctive difference between the two.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And then that 07 team, I mean, both of the 07 and the 12 team, they both have losses to South Carolina that they definitely shouldn't have. We can always pinpoint back to the 07 team, South Carolina at home. That was a bad loss, and terrible players make terrible decisions. Again, you have the ball last second or last minutes of the game, you're on your way scoring, you're past the 40-yard line, and then a very obvious holding call by number 63, I don't know his name, but not very good and undisciplined. So, again, cost Georgia a national championship, cost them an SEC championship. They had they would have had the tiebreaker over Tennessee, even though they got thrashed by them that year if they beat South Carolina. But again, lack of execution by some guy. Okay, number 3, I skipped mine. Number 4 for me was the 2017 team. I think if we're going down the list of my favorite teams, I think the 2017 team is my favorite. I think first you knew going into the season that Georgia was going to be pretty good. You didn't know how good they were going to be. Then after the Notre Dame game, you go, oh, this team's actually like really good. Like they can do something here. And then you have the Mississippi State game where Mississippi State was riding high, beat the brakes off of them. Really didn't face anybody that could even put up a fight till Auburn, which was one of the more bad losses in the Kirby Smart era. I mean, just got the dog crap beaten out of them. What were you about to say?
I was going to say, though, the reason, if you think about it, and I agree, it's a terrible loss, but the reason you don't put that one up there is because it was totally revenge in the SEC championship. So it's almost like, it was a good lesson. That was good for us. So anyway.
But it was the first time Georgia nationally was a threat to win a national championship in a very long time. It was new. It was exciting. Really, in my lifetime, Georgia never been that good before, ever. I mean, think about that. So it was exciting. The whole season was a different experience every game. And then the Rose Bowl, obviously, that was a classic. And then, again, we're talking about woulda, shoulda, coulda. That national championship against Alabama had every opportunity in the world to win that game.
Should have won it.
If we're going by should, Georgia's like 5 national championships deep. So I think, and look at the NFL talent, the talent that they had all across that field. That was the first year that you saw the vision that Kirby Smart had for his tenure really play out, and it was only the second year of his tenure. So I put them at number 4.
No, I agree. I think they probably are one of my favorite teams for all the reasons you outlined. And, it was a lot of fun. Like you said, new experiences going to Notre Dame. We got to go to the Rose Bowl. And talented team. I can't disagree with anything you said. But I did not have them on there because I could only have 5.
All right, so you're number 3?
My number 3 is the 2022 national championship team. Obviously, they won a national championship, loaded with talent. The offense that year was, offense and defense, but the offense was really fun to watch. So that's the reason I had them in there as far as the talent, and they won a national championship, and the offense was really exciting to watch. So for all those reasons, that's the reason I had them as my number 3 team.
All right. So I don't really. You cornered me because here's the thing. I think the 2022 team is by far my favorite team. Is my last year at Georgia. I went to every single game basically. I have them at number 1. I saw them in person every game. So they're number 1 for me. And by the way, had a classic game against Ohio State. So that
was a classic game.
That tipped it in their favor. My number 3 was the 1980 team, just because I just look at the athletes back then. No offense. I mean, there's Herschel,
Lindsey Scott.
Lindsey Scott, obviously Buck Bellew. But I put them down at 3 because of the athletes. They had a classic, unlike the 21 team. They had a classic game. They had multiple classic games, too many, to be honest. And won a national championship. But also, I kind of put it in a different light because there wasn't a playoff. The national championship wasn't awarded till a week after the Sugar Bowl. I mean, everyone knew that Georgia won the national championship, but I had to put the 80 at 3 just out of respect. But 2022 is number 1 for me. I think that's the better team out of the two. Actually, out of the 2 national championships that Kirby has.
Certainly better offense. I don't know. That's a good little mental with the 21 team beat the 22 team. I don't know that defense in 21, even with the offense being so much better. I don't know. That's a tough debate. But I had, just to follow up on that, I had probably because of my age, but I had the nostalgia of the 80-81 team. Herschel, Buck Bellew, Lindsey Scott, like you said, so many, just big time games that were exciting to watch. The defense under Irk Russell, they were for real, dude. They were even though the game was completely different, right, than it is now. Yeah. They were very opportunistic. Had a ton of turnovers, a special teams play. I mean, that was for back in that era of football. And to me, too, that was also everybody, because it seemed like Georgia was smaller. Everybody was on the bandwagon. And also, not that I've ever been a huge Falcons fan, but whenever I was a kid, they had the Grits Blitz, and then we had the Junkyard Dogs. And for all those reasons, I remember that team fondly. And then, of course, obviously winning the national championship and beating Notre Dame. And I still remember where I was and watching that. So, that's the reason I had them as my number 2 team. As far as talent, players are bigger, faster, stronger. I don't know if that's a fair comparison, but I agree with you. I mean, no comparison as far as the athleticism. But I had the 21 team. I know we're skipping through, and I'll let you go here in a second. I had the 21 team, first team that got us over the hump since 81. Tons of pressure on those guys. Down in Indianapolis, Alabama's always had our number. Couldn't have had a more fucked up, sorry for my language, play call against Stetson and a fumble with the fart face having 1 foot in. And that was just totally deflating, but those guys never gave up. That was the signature of that team. You're talking about keep chopping. That team just kept chopping. And that drive that we had when we just took it over in the fourth quarter and we were running it down their throat was probably, even before we won and before the interception and the Ringo interception, That was probably the most satisfying fucking drive I've ever seen in my life from a Georgia fan. We exercised some demons on that drive. So for me, because of the I think it's the best defense ever in college football. I know people can argue with that, but to me it was. And that's the reason I have them as my number one team, the 21
I
team.
mean, look, there were guys in the third string on that 21 team that are now NFL players, which is kind of crazy to think about. I don't know. The way I put the 22 team over the 21 team is because the 22 team didn't lose a game. They should have lost to Missouri and they should have lost to Ohio State, but they didn't, and they won. And then also, I put them over because, like, that 21 team, there was not the first game, that Clemson game, shouldn't have been as close as it was. I mean, DJ Malaya, I think, honestly, dude.
We broke him.
I think they broke him. I thought he broke the ring. I don't think he was ever the same after that.
Totally agree.
So, that 21 team, outside of that one game against Clemson in the regular season, there was not a single game that was close. I remember going to the Arkansas game. Students had to get there early if you wanted a good seat. Sat down. They had all the pregame festivities. Within 15 minutes, College Game Day, you got to remember, College Game Day was there. It was a huge deal. Kirby was like, hey, everyone, we need you to be in your seats at noon. Big deal. By the time the ball was kicked off, that game was over. It was over. If we're going with the most dominating team ever, the 21 team is probably the most dominating. There was not, and that really, I got to tell you, I think that SEC championship game, I think that was totally orchestrated by Kirby. That defense looked so freaking good all year, looked good in the playoffs too. They had an anomaly of a game and they never played that type of way all season. They were in base defense the entire time. I think that was totally orchestrated to take a point. And by the way, they have Kirby mic'd up before the game. He goes, hey, don't worry about this. Just go out there and have fun, play football. Just don't worry about anything. None of this matters. He literally says this doesn't matter.
Well,
what?
I don't know about the conspiracy theories and all that, but I agree. Defense didn't look anything close, and they looked slow. They looked out of position, and I think Kirby, I know this, he utilized that and got those guys' attention. They didn't look slow and out of place or like they were fatigued the rest of the playoff run. And that's when we beat the dog shit. Is that when we beat the dog shit out of Michigan?
Yeah, 34.
Yeah, that after they walked off the field, not really celebrating. They took part in the festivities, but it was all about a mindset of this was just a stepping stone to get us where we want to go. Our job's not done. That team had a different mentality about them. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. You can make an argument. I think they're 1A, 1B, the 21 and the 22 teams. I think the only reason why I would give the nod to the 22 team over the 21 team is because I think the offense was on the same level as the defense. Right, in 22, the offense was the same.
The offense is
one offense.
Yeah, our defense was still really good in 22, really good. Not as dominant probably, but our offense was explosive and really fun to watch. So
right. And by the way, and then like you had the whole controversy of JT Daniels, Stetson Bennett, and that wasn't really solved. Let's see, it was like midpoint of the season. It wasn't until Jacksonville, really, where it was like pretty much it was Stetson's job to lose at that point.
Right.
So, and then also Stetson could just manage the game because he, defense was going to take care of whatever needed to be taken care of. By the way, one last note: if you want to see how far Tech has come from that 21 year, or from like in just recent years, that 21 game where Brock Bowers has I don't know, I think it was a post route, and he just blew by 6 defenders. It's one of the funnier plays to ever watch. Tech just looked like
Well, that's also go back and watch the video of Georgia Tech players being interviewed about playing Georgia that year, and when Jalen
Yates and Jalen
yeah,
Carter.
yeah. He said I hadn't run. He said everywhere I looked was Georgia players. He said I ran for 3 yards and thought it was a good play. And the Georgia Jalen Carter looked at him and goes, "Y'all unprepared." And he goes, "I couldn't argue."
Yeah, he said that was the weirdest shit talking he ever heard before. And I guess it would be. Yeah, you're unprepared for this. Yeah, one of the better teams. And another reason why I put the 2022 team ahead, just because I enjoy it. One of the more enjoyable games I've ever been to is the Georgia-Tennessee game in Sanford Stadium that year. I think is one of the greatest football games I've ever witnessed in person. And it goes past the national championship in 21. Because Tennessee, I mean, they really thought they were going to go in there. A, take over the crowd, which was very funny. B, they were going to win. The Redcoats walked into the stadium in the Tennessee away section over in the farthest corner of the end zone. They're flicking off the Redcoat band and like telling them that they're fucking, they're going to die today and saying horrible stuff. The Redcoat band has no. I don't even know why you would ever do that.
They're just playing their flute, dude.
And I just remember like, oh wow, they're really confident. And the Redcoat band started giving it back to them. And I was like, oh, well, that's different. And then just the ass kicking, and then the excuse making. It was a complete and total destruction of Tennessee. And then the excuse making that Tennessee fans had because it drizzled in Athens, and it drizzled. And for them to make an excuse that they would have won the game if it hadn't have rained, just a beautiful encapsulation of the SEC and Tennessee and how like delusional they all are. That's one of my favorite games, so that's why I probably, to be biased, I put the 22 team ahead of them.
Well, I wasn't there. I was sitting in the drive, but yeah. And by the way, I don't know if anyone's ever confirmed this with Kirby, but that speech, one of the speeches, not "I want to break these bitches," that was Florida.
Yeah.
But these motherfuckers coming in here to take our spot, and whenever I heard so and so speak, I wanted to go play this game.
Yeah.
Right. That I believe that was before the Tennessee game.
I think that was before the Tennessee game.
Yeah, and they were not ready to, and I think it really pissed Georgia off that defending national championships, Tennessee hadn't really done shit, but they were coming into our house and ranked number 1. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, you can't go really wrong with either one of the two teams. I think is the point that we have made in 10 minutes of talking about them. All right, remember to like and subscribe, comment. What was your favorite Georgia football team? Where would you a team that we missed that should have been on? And then hit the notification bell because we will be it'll be a little more irregular, but we'll still be on. And then follow us on socials at Terminus Sports _ATL. It's Terminus Sports _ATL on Instagram, TikTok, and X, formerly Twitter. And yeah, that's it. So we'll see you on the other side.
See ya.